It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the first of hopefully many SnowEx Hackweeks hosted here at the University of Washington in partnership with the SnowEx program. I'm going to be facilitating the program for the next hour together with my colleague, Charley Haley. And we'd like to start things off with an opening remark from Jared Enton, who is NASA's Terrestrial Hydrology Program Manager. Jared, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say I'm really excited for this week's SnowEx Hackweek, and just want to pass along a thanks to everybody I know who's participating, and especially those instructors who put in a lot of work before today, and then everybody, of course, thanks for taking a week out of your life to do this. But I'm really looking forward to it and learning what a Hack Week is. So thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate you being here. Well, picking up on that thread of just offering gratitude to this team, I just wanted to thank this amazing organizational team that's come together to put together this program. HP, Jessica Lundquist and I got together a couple of years ago now to think about how we might be able to apply this Hackweek model to the snow science community. We were really interested in bringing these open source tools into the science, into the snow community, and seeing what might be possible. And I'm really pleased to see what's come together over the last couple of years. And in particular, the last 3 months or so, this team has been meeting every couple of weeks to build tutorial content, to plan the flow of the event. And so none of this would have been possible without their efforts. Many of these folks have been working, volunteering their time. So if you get a chance to thank them throughout the week, I know that they would appreciate it. And really none of this would have occurred without all of their hard work. As Jared said, we want to thank all of you. We realize this is a big commitment of your time to take a whole week off. And we appreciate that you've made the effort to come together and build this community together with us. The Hackweek success really depends on our ability to work together as a team and to share what we know with each other. And so we're really glad to have all of you here, and we're interested and look forward to getting to know you as much as we can, given some of the more limitations of this virtual space. One of the ways that we're going to facilitate that together with Charley is to use this slide deck of who we are, and we've invited you to prepare one for yourself. This is an invitation for you to share a little bit more about yourself. This is not a requirement or anything that you have to do, but we are providing it as an opportunity to start some conversation in our sessions where we will be breaking into smaller teams. So if you haven't had a chance to prepare that yet, feel free to do that in the next 10 or 15 minutes when we'll be getting into some breakouts, just to share what we've put together in those slides. Oops. I want to acknowledge the funding for this event, which comes from the NASA Terrestrial Hydrology Program, and the eScience Institute is the agency that has funded putting together the sort of scaffolding for the Hackweek program. And that comes out of a lot of foundation support from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation and the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. So we want to acknowledge all of those funding sources that have made this program possible over the years. We also have some funding and cloud credits from Amazon Web Services. A couple of virtual logistics, if you haven't done so already, we invite you to rename yourself in Zoom according to whatever way you wish to be identified. And we can do that by clicking on Participants button at the bottom of the Zoom panel, and you can go in and find your name, and then click on the More button and click Rename, and that'll allow you to rename yourself if you haven't done that yet, including your pronouns or however else you would like to be identified. We've disabled the Zoom chat for this and all of our sessions, and the reason for that is that we would really invite you to use Slack for all of our direct messaging and communications. It's a little bit easier for us to do that in a Hack Week because there are so many of us, and the Slack chats will persist over time, and we can go back in and look at questions that may have been asked before. And it's a little easier for us as helpers to answer your questions rather than having a big thread within the Zoom chat. The way that we'll invite you to do that is to go over to the Hackweek Help channel on Slack, And any questions there, no matter how big or small, we will try to attend to. We also encourage other participants, if they know an answer to a question, they can help out. It's a good opportunity to do that. The way that we prefer to have these conversations set up is for someone to pose a question and then within a thread, begin a conversation to answer that. So you'll see here an example of one of the threads that was part of our software carpentry session a few weeks ago. In a similar way, if you get a chance and haven't done so already, putting in your picture and of course, putting in the name that you'd like to be identified by also helps us a lot in Slack. It's especially useful for us. It gives us a little bit more of that human connection when we're in this virtual space all day. If we can see a picture of someone, it makes it a little more connecting than seeing an avatar. So if you do get a chance, that would be helpful to us as we answer your questions and work with you throughout the event. A word about accessibility. Please contact us if we can help make any of our content more accessible to you. If the volume of the feed is not enough for you to hear, if the fonts are a little bit too small, sometimes we forget to increase the font size as we're working through tutorial, please just drop a comment in that help channel and we'll try to make sure that we attend to that. We do try to remember, but sometimes it's easy to forget as we're going through. We will be recording, excuse me, all the tutorials and sharing them to our eScience YouTube channel as quickly as we can. It takes a little time to process them, but that will be another opportunity to go back and look at any material that may have gone by a little too quickly. And of course, any of our colleagues who want to work on this asynchronously and not attending the event, that'll be a mechanism by which they can join us here. Now I'm going to spend a little time talking about the Hackweek model in general. If I was to summarize what a Hackweek is all about in a single sentence, I would say that Hackweeks are participant-driven events that aim to create welcoming spaces for people to learn new things, to network, and to practice working in small teams. And so I'd like to kind of go through 6 of the core elements of a Hackweek just to drill down a little bit more into what these events are all about. And the first of these is that we aim to foster a sense of belonging. And this is really rooted in our belief that people learn best when they are in a welcoming and a hospitable space. And so we welcome all of you here with your unique identities. We welcome you regardless of your level of skill with data science tools, whether you're just starting off learning these tools or whether you've been working with them for quite a long time. And we welcome you at any career stage, if you're a senior researcher, faculty, all the way to starting off as a graduate student. All of us belong here, and we really want to come together and collaborate and work together and build new ways of doing our research. Now, the second is that we aim to gain experience in conducting data-intensive research. If you leave here at the end of the week having just a little more clarity on how to apply some of these data-intensive tools to your research, then we feel like we will have succeeded. Our goal is to offer you a bit of a curated pathway through all of the complexity of the data science landscape. We know you can learn a lot of these tools in various ways. Our effort here is to give you a sampling of all the different tools and how you might navigate through them, especially as it applies to working with snow science and snow research. The next is that we encourage immersive and interactive learning. And this is rooted in our belief that we're all learners here. And that idea of peer learning and learning from each other is really the cornerstone of the open source movement and this idea of sharing data and collaborating together. So as organizers, what this looks like is we're designing content to be as participatory as possible. We invite you to ask questions, to engage as much as you are able to throughout the tutorials and throughout the project work. The next is we incorporate elements of co-creation with participants. So we have these predefined tutorials and we blend them with open project work. There's ample time for you to dig into content in your small groups in a way to sort of enhance that collaboration and innovation. We don't actually know how this event is going to evolve in advance. In many cases, it really depends on what all of you bring to this week and how we can all kind of design a space where we can co-create the content and work together. The next is that we really try to provide opportunities for you to build your network. If you can come out of this week having met someone that you hadn't worked with before, and maybe someone that you can collaborate going forward, we think that will be a marker of success as well. And so what that looks like is offering some structured opportunities for engagement, for trying to replicate that idea of these sort of random encounters that might occur at an AGU coffee break or something like that. So we'll have a couple of virtual coffee breaks, times for gathering after the end of a day's work. And we invite you to join that as you're able to. We know that sometimes that will push it to some different times in various time zones. But this, we hope, will be an opportunity to build out your network. And then the last is kind of the glue that holds all of this together, and that is this code of conduct. And as participants, as organizers, as helpers who have registered for this event, we've already committed to adhering to this code of conduct through our registration process. The code of conduct is linked here and is on our website. And we encourage you to have a look. And if you do need to report a code of conduct violation, you can find various ways for doing so at the bottom of the code of conduct page. So those are the 6 kind of core elements of any Hack Week that we offer. And when we got together with the planning team for SnowEx, we worked on, right at the start, defining what are the key goals and outcomes that we'd like to see with this particular event. So I'd like to share those with you as well. The first of these is that we're hoping in this Hack Week to enhance our ability to share SnowEx data across platforms, analysis tools and visualizations that will allow us to connect data sets and do even greater and more innovative science. The next is that we aim to increase the accessibility of SnowEx data. So to make it easier for everyone to find the data and to use it for their research. And the next is to develop a community of collaboration around SnowEx open source tools. Our hope is that we can build this new community and that you can be some of the founding members going forward in continuing that momentum and sharing of tools and data across these different platforms of the SnowEx program. So that's a summary of what we're here for this week. Encourage you to kind of think back to this if you're wondering where things are going or what you hope to get out of it, and hopefully kind of connecting together these various pieces that we'd like to achieve as in our time together. Now I'll just finish my session here before we move into some breakouts, show you where we are in this roadmap of the various events of the Hack Weeks. This came out of some efforts almost a decade ago with my colleagues in astronomy and neurosciences. And the point of this slide is to say that what we're experiencing here in this event in 2021, I guess, is the progression and building of these different models of our time. And I bring this up because I want to bring to your attention how important it is that we evaluate what we're doing in these events, given that this is kind of a different model than other ways of gathering in academia, and how important it is that we hear back from you as participants so we can continue to build this model. What you're experiencing today is resting on the work of so many other people who've been kind enough to share what they've discovered over the past years and how they constructed these and what worked and what didn't. So a couple of things. One is we actually are formally collecting evaluation data that informs various publications. Okay, so there's a quantitative data collection, and that will look like a 20-minute survey or so on the last day of the Hack Week. We know by then you'll have been doing a lot of work, but it's important to us to get your feedback, and we hope that you can take part in that evaluation. This year, we've been working with a professional evaluator and would like to try doing some focus groups. And so I'll be setting that up and inviting whoever is interested into that process with us, where we'll meet with a small group shortly after the event to get your feedback. And then we'll also offer a new survey that will be coming months after the event to check in on some longitudinal data. To what extent might you still be using some of the tools that you learned here? Where do you see the community going? These kinds of things. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Charley to guide us through our breakout session.
Good morning, everyone, or it may not be morning, it's my morning. My name's Charley Haley, and what I do is I design collaborative experiences for groups gathering to help them connect and work together in connected ways. And in a minute, we're going to put you into small breakouts with about 3 or 4 of other people. And so in about, you'll have about 20 minutes in there, and this should give you enough time to share a little bit about yourself, learn about 3 or 4 of other people, and chat about any overlaps or interesting bits that you hear. I think over the last 1.5 years of quarantines, many of us have learned that how important it is. And we've really missed these random encounters and being able to meet new people. It's important to meet new people for our careers, but I think over the last 1.5 years, we've learned that meeting new people is also important to our health and vitality. It enriches our life, right? But even knowing that, whenever I need to introduce myself, I still feel a bit awkward about it. And talking about myself really doesn't sound like the most fun thing in the world. So we've tried to support this and reduce the awkwardness a little bit by inviting you to fill out the introduction slides. So what I'm imagining is in the breakouts, each person can bring up their slide and kind of walk us through that, talk about it. You don't have to think about anything new. Many of you've already filled out a slide. It's kind of fun to see each other's pictures too, right? And there's some fun elements like socially, something that's easy for you to talk about, because through the week when we have these coffee breaks or happy hours, we're going to be doing it in these wonder rooms where we're all able to mingle and move about, just like it's a virtual coffee space. And when you bump into somebody, it's like, what do you talk to them about? Well, you can pull up their slide and go, oh, I can see they like, they really love to talk about parallel parking, as Katie Breen is sharing here with right now. Not everyone in the breakout room may have a slide prepared already, right? And don't worry about that. That's not a problem. For those that do have a slide, basically, if you don't have a slide, what I'm thinking might happen is it would be fun for you to just kind of interview the other person that doesn't have a slide. Ask them the sections that that you filled in on your slide, kind of help them, support them to by asking them this question. That could be fun versus saying, okay, your turn now, go answer these questions. Make it a little fun, help us support making this a really warm and inviting space to chat and get to know each other. Let's see, if you don't know, there's the link to the introduction slide can be found in Slack general channel if you need to pull it up. If somebody has trouble with their internet and can't pull it up, be gracious host and just say, hey, what slide are you? I'll find it for you. I'll share my screen for you. If you're not ready to join a breakout room yet, where you are in your morning, you're just not ready for a breakout room. When you get the Zoom invitation on your screen, you can easily just decline and you can hang out with Anthony. Well, Anthony, I guess you'll go. You can hang out with me. And let's see, you'll have 20 minutes in the breakout rooms. We'll message you about halfway through. So make sure that you're about halfway through the introductions by the time you get that message. And you'll have about 4 minutes each person. You don't have to take 4 minutes, but don't take any more than 4 minutes, please. And I think that we are ready to go into breakout rooms now.
All right, welcome back. Can you all hear me okay still?
Anthony, I just want to, before you jump into that, I'd like to kind of complete that activity a little bit. Is that okay?
I'm having some audio issues here. 1 second. Can I get a thumbs up, Charlie, if you can hear me okay? Okay.
And can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. I'm not sure what that little glitch was.
Yeah, I want to, before you jump into this, I just have a few last statements to make.
Great. Yeah,
okay.
Please go ahead.
And you know, Anthony and I are going to take about 20 minutes to talk about Hackweek projects, and then we're going to go into a break. But before we do that, I just wanted to, we're going to go into tutorials after that, right? And I wanted to give a little plug for something that we are calling being a hype man now during this Hack Week, and I will explain what that is. So recently, I was offering a workshop to a group of data scientists out of Australia, and this community really had a practice, kind of a culture of chatting up when someone was giving a workshop or a tutorial. They were doing a lot of chatting in the background, and the chatting wasn't just about asking questions. They were essentially chatting up, validating things, I might say, giving me a high five. Other participants were jumping on the bandwagon, and sometimes their comments could be quite funny. And the total experience was that it was fun. It was really an enlivening experience to see things other than just questions. And we all know, many of you have given tutorials before or workshops in Zoom, and it can be quite an alienating experience. You know, you feeling like you're just talking to a wall, hearing crickets. And getting questions, asking questions is awesome. But getting this high five, fist bump, being a hype man, chatting, hearing other things, punctuating things that you might say is way better. It lets people know that they're present, they're with you. It creates this kind of fun atmosphere that we're all here learning together. And so I've talked to Anthony about this, and what we would suggest is during tutorials, you can post your questions in the tutorial help section. Well, really all through the Hack Week, that's where you post your questions. But also that's where you can post like these punctuating something someone might say, hyping up what they might say, because it's fun to read those along. And in the next section, it's that Anthony and I do, we're gonna volunteer to be a guinea pig for this, and you can practice on us. We're going to kind of introduce you to the notion of what is project pitching, what will that experience be like? And while we're not going to be saying anything earth-shattering, you can practice on us, ask questions in the Hack Week help channel, and anything that you hear that you like what we say, give us a thumbs up or some type of comment in there, and just practice on us. And with that, I hand it over to you, Anthony.
All right. So Hackweek projects. We will be starting the project pitching this afternoon or later in the session today. And I wanted to start by giving you a little bit of background on what the projects are all about and what to expect. The overall purpose of the projects is to gain experience working in teams, to meet new people, deepen your own learning, make some advances on a project idea, and hopefully overall to have fun. And this is sort of, we hope, one of the most fun and interactive parts of the Hack Week that we're experiencing over the next 5 days. We like to define a couple of key roles in the Hack Week projects. This is not to impose any kind of hierarchical structures on this. It's simply, we've found over the years that it really helps to define a couple of people who can help the project get rolling, get people engaged, get people connected. And they can be people that we as organizers can go to help check in on how projects are doing. So I want to tell you about these two roles. The first is the project lead. This is usually the person who comes up with the original idea and pitches it to the full group. With the responsibility of that person, once the project gets started, to get to know everyone on the team, learn everyone's names, help to get people engaged and connected into tasks and work on the project that will be of benefit to them and to the larger group. And then they may often have access to data sets or resources that they're bringing to the project that they'd like to share. They're the ones that offer that access to everyone. We also define a data science lead or helper. This is often someone from our team of helpers that are coming to this event to assist. It can also be the project lead. There's often overlap here, but oftentimes there will be a second person who joins in. And their role is also to help get everyone connected and engaged, and then to offer guidance and answer questions on data science methods and tools. So they might have expertise on some of the specific data science aspects of what we're offering and can be there to help along. The course of the project's spanning the next 5 days. We structure that according to this workflow here. Today, we'll be doing the pitching and the team formation. I'm going to tell you how that works in just a moment. On day 2, a colleague of ours, Naomi, is going to get together with Charley to give you a 30-minute session on guiding you how to form and build your project teams and how to work together in these small groups. Throughout the days as you're working through your projects, we'll invite you to have a daily check-in or a stand-up. And then on the final day, there will be presentations back to the full group. So let me say a little more about the pitching. This is kind of the most chaotic and fun part of the event and can be a little bit nerve-wracking as we're trying to figure out, where can I find a group of people that I click with, that I can work with over the next few days. And sort of a controlled chaos thing that will hopefully congeal into a set of projects over the end of today and into tomorrow. So we invite all of you to pitch an idea. There are no ideas that don't belong here. If you have something that's bubbling up for you, we invite you to just put it out there if you feel comfortable sharing that, and see if other people would like to join you in that. As we go through, we recognize that not all pitches that get put out into the group will necessarily evolve into a project. And this is okay. What will often happen is you can then connect with another team and still get the work done that you'd like to do. We're going to guide you in that process of forming a team. The team size, usually around 5 to 7 people. We've had teams as small as 3, but smaller than that, we don't get those, opportunities to practice collaboration and working in groups. If we go much bigger, it can be a little bit unwieldy and it's hard to get everyone engaged. So if a team is forming that's looking quite large, we'll often meet with you and try to divide that into some smaller subgroups. The project pitching channel on Slack is where we will invite you, and we've already done that over the last few weeks. We see some great project ideas. That's where we'd like you to do your initial virtual pitch. It can be quite short, just saying project idea, here's what I'm thinking. And then in a thread, some others might start to sort of build on that and see if it might evolve into a project. So we're going to take all the project pitching ideas currently there. And if you come up with anything between now and later today, please go ahead and put that in there. We'll put those into a spreadsheet, and that will form a set of breakout rooms where other people who are not pitching a project can go in and move between rooms and just get some questions answered. Is this a project that's going to be a good fit for me? And that's the process by which we'll be structuring ourselves into groups. Now, you might be wondering, what's the appropriate scope or content of a project? Really, the sky's the limit with this. Here are just some examples of what we've seen over the years, and we encourage you to be creative and come up with your own project sort of themes as well. One thing that people often do is they spend a little more time digging deeper into tutorial content. You may have seen a tutorial on day 2 about X-ray. It's the first time you're learning this library and you think it's going to be really beneficial for your work. You might want to spend the project time digging into how that works, and it's a great use of the project time. You may want to explore a data set or how data sets integrate together, especially with the SnowEx products and how we can intercompare different data sets. You might learn about a data science method or tool such as machine learning, and have a sense that that might really apply to your research. So building a project around a data science approach is a great way to go as well. And another could be, not necessarily even thinking a lot about SnowEx data, but spending more time on saying, I really want to get good at how this whole open source software development thing works. And so just getting some practice in that, getting to the end of the week where you've got some more facility there is a really good use of your time as well. I want to pause for a minute and just talk about attribution. I'm quite aware that we're inviting all of you to pitch your best and brightest ideas to a group of people, many of whom you might not know. And we're aware that we're all functioning and working within this highly competitive academic atmosphere. And so it's really important to recognize that the idea that people pitch may end up leading to a publication or to software or other academic artifacts. And it's important to be mindful of that and be sure that we have a system set up for attribution and recognition and gratitude for the ideas that people bring to the table. If you don't feel like you're ready to pitch your best idea to a lot of folks, then we encourage you to not do that. But if you are ready to do that, then having those early conversations with the team that you form around, how is this going to evolve if it does turn into a paper, let's say, having those conversations at the start is really important before diving into the work. Okay, jumping to the end of the week, we'll have 15-minute HU style presentations. Generally, all the team members come together and get a chance to say something. We leave it up to the teams, but usually everyone will take the microphone, the virtual microphone, just to say a few things of what work they accomplished and what they learned. And it's really simply an invitation to share what you discovered over the last 5 days. What did you learn? What worked? What was challenging? If nothing worked at all, that's completely fine. But maybe you're in a position now to go in a different direction. And we really encourage the continuation of project work. We've had this happen over many Hack Weeks, where this kernel of an idea or project then evolves into even a community software or paper or something else. These are great outcomes, but certainly not a requirement of what we're offering here. This is not a test at the end of the week to see who has the best project. This is not a competition. It's simply a sharing back to the group and getting some interaction and conversation going around what you discovered. A few logistics. When a project team is formed, into the end of today and beginning of tomorrow, there are some really important project initialization steps that we will guide you through, and we invite you to go to the website. And one of the first tasks when you set out to do your work after you've gotten to know each other and set a course throughout the next few days, and is to initialize your project on GitHub. Create a name for your project, a Slack channel for each project will have its own Slack channel for your discussions. Set up a means by which you plan to meet together. Start a new repository. Each project will have its own GitHub repository. We're going to be teaching you about Git today, so all of these things will be guiding you through, but this is a great early kind of concrete task for your project team to engage in as you begin working together to start building that collaboration. And in this virtual setting, GitHub is going to be such an important tool so that we can share files and we can share content. So building that foundation early in your project is a really good idea. So I'm going to hand it over to Charley to talk a little bit about the scoping of the project.
Over the last several years, we've had the opportunity to hold debriefs with the people that pitch the projects, and some interesting feedback has come out of those conversations. If you're pitching a project, it's like, how do you determine the scope of your project? And there's really not a right answer for this, but there's just some things you need to consider as the project lead when you're doing it. The more focused and specific and narrower in scope that your project is, the easier it's to really launch and kick off and get everyone organized and working. It's easy to identify tasks and skills and people to figure out what skills do they have to work on what task. It's just easier to organize and manage as a project lead, the narrower the scope and the more specific, right? It's really easy to know when tasks are complete and have a sense of finishing the finish line, completing those tasks. On the other end, it could be more broader in scope, more exploratory and open-ended. Just know as a project lead, that's going to be, it's a little bit messier to get started and organized around that. And project leaders find that when they're in this more towards this end of project scoping, that they have less time themselves to do hacking, and they're more in a mentoring and guiding others role. So we just thought that you would want to know that so that you can choose for yourself. But it's not no one place is the best place to be. This diagram here is not to say that the project should be somewhere in between. It's more that I wanted to give you a sense that you're balancing multiple variables in determining the scope of your project. More exploratory, open-ended, broader in scope could be a little bit more, take more of your time, but it can also be very rewarding. It's an opportunity to advance something bigger or something that's personally meaningful to you that could go on longer than just this Hack Week, right? So to help you decide, the Hackweek data scientist helpers here will help you scope out a size that fits for you in your project. And I thought it would be also good for all the participants to just know when you're picking a project, just consider these things also. And next slide. So that was kind of from more about the project leader and scoping the project. Now let's think about as a participant and your needs and what you need to get out of this experience of participating on a project team. This is a little structure that I've come up with that we will dive into a little bit more tomorrow morning. But for now, I just kind of wanted you to try this on and start thinking about what are your needs. This is a time for you to be kind of selfish about and get exactly what you want to get out of the participating in the Hack Week, and to let your project lead know where your motivations and what supports your learning the best. And so the way to look at this triangle that I've got here, it's like, if you know that you're somebody that you're really motivated by clear goals and checking things off the list and reaching the finish line, then your happy face might be more towards the top there of completing the finish, going through the finish line and the task, right? If your way of learning, if you know that in order for you to really learn and digest work, you kind of need some alone time. You need to be able to work out the challenges and tasks on your own. So your happy face would be more towards that area. But maybe what you really enjoy is this peer learning. You work better, you learn better in peer groups. Each person here is an expert and skilled and knowledgeable in some things, and in some things you're learning, right? So this co-mentoring might happen and working together, and maybe that's the environment that you learn best in. So this is not like 3 fixed points, it's a continuum, and everybody is unique and different. And so tomorrow, when you start organizing in your teams, this is just a way to give the project lead an idea of when they're helping you figure out how to partner you, how to make sure that you feel like you've gotten the most out of this experience. Like, where do you fall in this? This is a way to give them feedback on how much help do you need? Do you need little help? Yeah, so before tomorrow, just kind of keep this in the back of your mind. Like, where do you feel like you fall? You don't know what project you're going to be working on yet, but you kind of know what your what motivates you and what are the best conditions for you to learn.